Hello, everyone, and welcome to the People Strategy Forum. Today, we have a real treat from you. Someone who's not only seen the future of work, but has helped countless companies thrive in it. John Chen, the CEO of GeoTeaming and author of Engaging Virtual Meetings, has spent over 35 years pioneering the art of impactful virtual communication and team building. With two US patents, a distinguished career at Microsoft, and creation of his renowned engaged method, John is the future and the authority, and also the authority in leading effective teaming in the digital world. He doesn't just talk the talk. He's produced groundbreaking virtual events for thousands worldwide, and so we're gonna hear a little bit about how he's done that overall. If you are a leader who wants to be better at your virtual game, help with your hybrid teams, and deliver top tier performance, John is the one who's going to bring these insights to your business. So let's go ahead and dive in. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much, Sam and Howard, for having me on the show. I appreciate that.
Yes, awesome. I love the music. I'm engaged already.
There you go.
So John, I know that we went into a little bit of your bio and so forth, but tell us the background story of what has really driven your passion in this area to help leaders and teams become more effective in a virtual environment.
Sam, do you mind giving me the screen and I'll share you my last 5 years in 2 minutes? How would that work?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me see if I can make that happen.
While he does that, right, I'm the author of a book called Engaging Virtual Meetings. And how did I get here? Well, Sam and Howard, I had an illustrious career in team building using geocaching. Do you know what geocaching is, Sam?
Tell us that.
It's a high-tech scavenger hunt where you use GPS receivers to find hidden items or locations all through a city. And I turned it into a team and leadership event where I was doing over 160 events a year. And then, this thing showed up.
Wow.
It kind of spoiled the party. And this is my March of 2020. This is I had 15 canceled events. But Sam and Howard, the key here is that when faced with uncertainty, one of my strategies is look at the past. Now, how OG are you? Do you have any idea what the screen thing is that is behind me?
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing something. Of course, it's all digitized. It looks like something out of Minecraft nowadays.
Yeah. Minecraft 38 years ago. This was called Prodigy. It was the first graphical-based meeting space online at a time when modems used to make noise. Right?
Yeah.
You got mail.
Yeah, you got mail, right? This was before AOL. So 38 years ago, we started investigating how to do team building on virtual. And the whole key here is, I even wrote another book. This is a book called 50 Digital Team Building Games. And I wrote this in 2011. And the whole key here, though, is that you could do all these things, right? You could do valuable team building, right? Save the travel and expenses and stay home and have dinner with your family at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, everyone said, "Well, that's a great idea, John, but here's a bunch of money, and you need to fly to Orlando to come do this training." And I'm like, "Okay." So, anyways, I'm sitting in my office in March of 2020. I've got nothing to do. I don't make vaccines, but I do know how to make your virtual meeting better. So I put a class on Eventbrite called Virtual Team Building, and over 5,000 people. Oh, there we go. 5,000 people took this by the end of March of 2020. So my publisher came back and said, "Hey, John, will you write your second book?" And I said, "Sure, let's do that." And what I feel like is the cruelest joke my publisher played on me. They said, "We don't know how long this pandemic thing's going to last. Can you rush the book?" Little do you know, I had 5 years, right? Somebody I know just got Corona last week still, so it's still going. But I wrote this book in 9 weeks, 60,000 words, and there was no AI at the time. Sam, there was only JI. Do you know what JI is?
What's JI, John?
John Intelligence. I wrote every single word, right?
John.
So it came out on Amazon hot new release, and then in 1 year, I redesigned my entire business to become Engaging Virtual Meetings, where I plan, produce, speak at, and MC at virtual, and now back at hybrid, and finally back to in-person meetings. So that's the short story of how I got to where I am today, Sam.
Wow, wow. No, so what a journey. I mean, and there's and the amount of, I mean, I know that John, because I'm struggling with this as myself, is just keeping up on the technology. And the
Yeah.
technology over the past 5 years has just been crazy. I mean, we got new AI things coming out all the time. And there's new tools, and how do you keep up on it all?
It's a constant process, Sam, and I think that's why you need experts around there because normal human beings can't keep up, right?
Yeah.
You have to focus on it. And so, for instance, I'm a user of Zoom, right? I also Teams, and I'm also a Restream user, but Zoom is one of my main platforms, and they're still updating faster than anybody else. These new
Huh.
features show up. Like there's a feature, Sam. Did you know in Zoom that you can set a video. So if somebody comes into your waiting room, Sam, that you can play them a video about who Sam is and who comp team is, right? Have you seen that?
Yes, well, actually, I love that because we've recently used that feature,
Mhm.
and I've been reading a lot of your material here, John. So the ideas I'm getting from you are amazing. But
Mhm.
so what we've done is we've launched using that feature our how we give back. So we plant trees, and so that comes on
Aw.
in some of our features, and then other people will have the products that we offer and tell a little bit about that. And then most importantly, I think that I got from this from your book is putting people in the right mindset for the meeting. And so
Yeah.
I had an artist that was a guest on our podcast draw a little bit of some graphics, and so one of my intros is that. So he's growing, doing a plant or tree, and is growing, and it just gets people in the right mindset and ready to participate in the meeting. So I love it.
Graphic recorders is another engaging way because sometimes you can just leave the window up of the graphic recorder and they're drawing on virtual, like a lot of times on iPads and other types of things. And these people are really skilled. They're like, I can't do that. And you can talk, but like the audience stays engaged because they are watching the graphic recording and listening to the meeting evolve in real time. And that to me is another piece of engagement. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, he would do that he started out working with the government doing that, and they would just go through all these complex ideas, and he would capture it, and people would remember. They would see it as like, oh yeah, we talked about that. I want to go back to that, or as it goes along. So it's a really engaging way to keep people focused, and then they would share the art after the meetings, and then they would use it in follow ups, and it's just a great way to for those visual people to bring it all together.
Well, yes, and Sam, one of the keys here, though, is for you putting that video in the waiting room, put you in the top 1% of all Zoom users I know.
Sweet. At least I'm ahead somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, Sam, that's one of the you kinda yeah, you need to know a guy or you need to know a gal, right, to stay
Yeah.
current in the business because that feature's been there like 2.5 years, Sam, but there are still very few people who've used it. Zoom is kinda like a Ferrari as a car that you drive it and you only use like 2% of its capability, but once you discover those other things that you can really be a high performance, person.
Mhm. And so, I mean, I know that you support businesses in a lot of different ways, John. So, can you take us through the full gambit? I mean, I know you do you do conferences and I mean, there's a variety of things. So, I'm just going to let you speak to it. But how can you help leaders beyond your book stay informed and up to date on those technologies that are out there?
Well, let's start number one, Sam, because you're talking about leaders. And something that we do as producers is study executive presence. Executive presence. So, like all these things here in my background, right, are actually part of executive presence, meaning that we have a kind of a five-step system. But first, for yourself, right? All right, I dressed up for this, Sam. Right, I'm going to show this. Some people were showing up in yoga pants. CEOs and VPs showing up in yoga pants, and that reflects on your brand in some way. So that's the
Yeah.
first part. But the second part is, the audio and the video. I wear this mic because so that even if I turn my head or look around and I go forward or backwards, I sound exactly the same. And there are some high executives that I know that came in and are using like their laptop mic. And the whole key here is, Sam, is that they sound like they're in their bathroom. You know what I'm talking about, Sam? That bad
Yes.
mic. And it's such an important part to have that presence, especially if you're talking to your whole company, right? And so
Right.
that's that part. And then, video. Have you ever seen grainy? You ever seen an executive who's pointing their thing at a window and now they're just completely dark? You can see up their nose or down their head. All of those things all account for that. And so us as producers, we will come and help you with that in a rehearsal so that you have the best presence, right? But the second thing that we really do is then maximize the time. We all kind of know that we all come to virtual meetings with a timer. And that when that timer exceeds, right, it's just like, I'm out. I am disconnected from this meeting. I am zoomed out, right? I need, like, I got virtual fatigue. And so that's the invisible timer. And what we do with that is that, here's a great example. One of the top things that we do is run all hands meetings, right? So a company wanted to come back and bring everybody in person. They got a chance to do it 6 months ago. But when they asked again, headquarters told them no, right? With the layoffs that are happening now, the budget cuts, it's like, we can't fly 140 people back in. So they called me and they said, hey, John, can you help us run a really high-end, high-engaging all-hands meeting so that we can continue the momentum? So we did that. And so everyone just clicked a button, got in, didn't cost, or cost the company a fraction of the cost, but they still were able to do things like celebrate people in the all hands meeting. The executive gave an update on what's happening with the direction of the company. And, I love that Tim Sanders once said that company conferences and all hands meetings are like the movies of corporations. And what he meant by that is like, do you ever have that one movie that when you watched it, it changed everything? Like The Matrix or Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Meetings and conferences are like that. And if you can move the direction of your corporate ship 1 to 3 degrees, you show up in another location in a year. So those are some of the examples of things that I've done.
You know what? I think that there's many leaders out there that are just terrible communicators. It's just I see this all the time, and it's horrible because it really impacts the organization overall. And then getting them, what do you typically say to them to let them know that, hey, communication in all its forms, whether in your virtual environments that are in to keep people engaged, is essential as a leader. What are the talk track do you typically take them through to show them how important it is?
Well, I think the key here is I start with what I feel like is the simplest consulting question of all time. And it's still a high percentage of clients who don't know the answer. And that question is, what do you want? Right? No, and really, wait, what do you really want? And so they say all these things like, I want a team building event. I want everyone to feel great. And I'm like, what is that doing for your company? Right. So
Yeah.
you got to go back and say, like, what's the tangible takeaway? So like in one client, then it was like, how do we increase revenue by 15%? Okay, that's a more tangible goal. Or how do we recognize and try and reduce the amount of people who are leaving the company because it costs so much to do something like that? So, or how do we just make sure and appreciate people, right? There's the morale is low, so we want the morale to come up. So those are things that I asked. And once I understand that, then I can do something else, right? And decide how are we going to put this program together so that it will really meet the goals, right, of the company. So here's a great example, Sam. One company had an all hands meeting, but they were virtual. So they're all literally all over. And there's only 3 hours in the world that they can all meet that actually, right? So that somebody's not meeting at 4 a.m. And they wanted to have them they wanted to have a fireside chat. So there's the founder and like the coach and the co-founder. And I told them, look, you have so little time. Let's maximize this time. Why don't you record that conversation, have it required that people can watch it whenever they want. It's a video, and then allocate that 30 minutes of the time saying, now during this time, you can ask any questions based upon what you saw in the video. And it was so engaging. In fact, the co-founder did not know how powerful chat is. that even while the people didn't say things, they were chatting things. And even a person who just got into the company brand new at 2 weeks was giving valuable insights or questions based upon that. And so that's one of the things that some people don't think about, but we help them do to maximize that amount of time that they have online.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've noticed that, Howard, but some of our clients that we've worked with, I mean, sometimes they have a whole nother conversation that's going on chat, just going in, but that's difficult to keep up with. I mean, just as I mean, I have a problem with focusing on just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So how do you stay up on it all and ensure that we're knowing what's going on in the chat versus what's happening on the screen?
Well, Sam, you got to kind of look to the youth, right, to find out what's the trends going on. So have you ever watched gaming on Twitch, Sam or Howard?
No,
I have not.
Twitch is like people are live streaming gaming. So someone's playing gaming and like thousands of kids or whatever are watching them and they're chatting. And I can't even read the chat. Like I'm pretty good, but it's because it's moving so fast. But the key here is that the chat gives the person who's playing the game an indicator of like based on its speed sometimes of how engaged the audience is, how excited they are. So to me, chat is the second most engaging tool that is on virtual. And one of our core principles, Sam, is never meet virtually alone, right? Or if you're on Zoom, never Zoom alone. And what I mean by that is that if Sam is the keynote presenter and I'm his producer, I tell Sam, don't look at the chat if that's not you. You present, you spend all your time connecting with people and let me monitor the chat. And occasionally what we do is we coordinate and Sam can come back and saying, hey, John, could you kind of summarize what's going on in the chat? And I'll come in there and tell you, Sam, they're excited about your strategy. They love this new thing, but they got this question about, this one client. And could you answer that question? I'll do that for you. Right. And so that you don't have to do it. But my job is to make you, Sam Reeve, look great on stage.
Yeah. Awesome. I like that. Anybody that can help me look better. I mean, it's good for me. But because that's another, I think, a fear some leaders have, John. I mean, is not everybody is great. I stumble over my words a lot. I'm not the best personality on screen. And so there's ways of engaging people and, I mean, beyond just the initial speaker, as you've shown in many ways already. So, let's dive into what you're saying is how you support leaders through the producer element. I mean, are there other things that are techniques that you recommend in just normal team meetings on a weekly basis, or what should be part of the session?
Well, this is to all the executives out there, right? I'm talking to you now. Authenticity trumps perfection. Stop trying to be perfect on virtual. None of your employees want that. They want to know who you are. So if you kind of fumble, sometimes that can become part of who you are, right? Now, if you can't share your screen and like you're having all these technical problems, everyone's waiting on you, well, unfortunately, that's crashing your brand. But what I'm saying is like if Sam occasionally fumbles on his words, it actually shows to me that this is a live program and that Sam's a real human being and not some AI bot, right? And I think that's important. There's a lot of executives who are using vulnerability as a core strategy, right? And so they come in and saying, things like, I don't know everything, right? Right. We're actually our company's in a trouble spot right now. The layoffs are happening. Like if I was a leader now, I would just try and be upfront as possible with my team because that's what they want to know. Like if I give them all rainbows and unicorns and everyone knows it's not rainbows and unicorns, I'm lying. Right? We're all smart people. We can all figure that out. So they want to know the real truth. And that's the one thing I could tell executives is stop worrying about being perfect, right? And start worrying about how can I share what's really happening? And most importantly, in the end, Sam, like for all leaders, you're probably asking this question, how can you help? How can you help, right? So you ask the company, right? You still want your job? You should come up with new revenue ideas so that we can all stay employed and hang out here in this beautiful, cool, amazing place. So I think that's my number one piece of advice.
I've worked with a number of different companies over the years, and I think that's the biggest stumbling block is the leader who just always wants to be delivering the happy message, and people walk away, and you lose all credibility. And I'd rather have someone tell me the way things are and then lay out a plan for how we're going to try and address it and move the needle forward versus, telling me that, everything is wonderful and rosy.
Yeah, Howard, we just had this happen. So I'm the president right now for National Speakers Associations Northwest. This is my volunteer work, right?
Right.
And we had a big program. It's a speaker showcase. We're going to show off, 14 of our top speakers. And the registration was low. It was below expectations. And right. So now all these people who kind of paid money to get in this program, we're going to speak to like 3 people in the audience. And that's not a good look, right? And so the leader rallied in to say, "Hey, look, our registration is not good. We got to help, right?" And they have to involve all the speakers and say, "Look, this is going to help you.
Hmm.
When there's more people in that audience, right? You're going to get it." And so that's an amazing piece. And in just a moment here, I'm going to bring in a picture and just show you, what it looked like in this audience. This is what happened when we got this many people in the audience, right? So we actually set a record, Howard. This is the highest attended meeting in at least a decade for this association at 150, and these people got some spectacular video.
Nice. And so, yeah, and I noticed that those were people were on stage in person, and you also were working with some virtual participants as well in that session.
Yeah, so one of the things I've mastered, Sam, is hybrid, right?
Hmm.
This is actually something I call hybrid in a box. Here in
Wow.
Seattle, right, one of the number one problems for virtual or for hybrid is that you got to plug all these wires back in, right? And so what I do is I come into a place, open the table, and all I have to do is connect cameras, and now I can actually stream and have a 4-camera stream, so it looks really high end and high quality. And so what's the benefit of that? We did it for a conference here called Learnapalooza, right? Doesn't that sound cool, Sam?
Yeah.
Learnapalooza. We had 3 breakout rooms, right? All running this high-end virtual. There were 200 people in attendance and 150 virtual as far away as Switzerland. And this PhD came back and said, "This has been the best hybrid I've attended ever." And that's the value of when you can get really great hybrid.
Hmm.
And in some of this, it requires like just some extra hardware. And I noticed that you had in that particular situation, you had those cameras and so forth. There was a control board on the table. Do you provide coaching on how to use all those elements?
I actually do a certification, right? So it's 20 hours. It's 4 hours a day for 5 days. It's a certified engaging virtual meeting certified producer. So these are people who learn how to produce on Zoom, right? And then also some elements of hybrid. And so I'm just about to release the hybrid class. But Sam and Howard, I'm going to show you this, and I just want to make sure your guests know. I don't expect any of you to build anything like this, right? What I hope, though, that this inspires you to think about your setup and level it up like one part further. But no, this is a live video of my setup like right now, right? So this is Sam, right? This is Howard. But I have up to 15 screens at my disposal.
Wow.
Using all these different tools. So like here, like things like this, I can play music, right? We can do sound effects. I can run my own applause. But the whole point is that with this studio, I can do other things that other people can't do. And quite often, though, Sam, we've called this the money camera, because once an exec sees this and they understand that they and their own team can't do this, they're just like, we'll let John do it.
There you go. Well, John, I know that we just have you for a short time today, and I would love to take us to that next place, because we do have leaders in here that says, hey, my thing is not technology. It's like I want somebody to help me out. John, take us through all the pieces that you do to help leaders to show up and be their best.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So if let's say Sam and Howard say we're going to have an all hands, it's a hybrid all hands. So where's your office, Sam?
So I'm in Colorado.
Okay, cool. So let's go I love Colorado, by the way. Mm-hmm. So let's say we're going to go mile high. We're going to go to Colorado. And so we go through and we would meet like this on virtual and do all the planning. So again, I'm going to ask you the question, what do you want? So Sam, pretend like you tell me something, one of the things you want for your company.
So I want better employee engagement.
Okay, great. So we want engagement. So we're going to do that. Then we're going to come out and talk about the day and the time, how long, right? So Sam, make up a duration. Like, how long do you want this meeting to be?
Let's do this meeting in 45 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, so these are these new speed meetings. Sorry, shorter is better. So we're going to go through, and then we're going to plan like what are the high impact elements. So we're going to talk about how you walk in. Like I'm going to play. I would most likely do like a voice of God, right? Here he comes. He's the CEO of Comp Team. Let's welcome Sam Reed. Right. So we'll talk about every small element like that. So then Sam knows he's going to come in. He's going to hand it to Howard. Howard's going to talk about the sales strategy, right? Other people are going to come in, and then the most important part though is that you're going to engage your audience. Well, I'll show you different tools. One of our core principles is that if you want engagement, Sam, then engage. And what I mean by that is have a plan to engage with every teammate before the end of the meeting.
Yes.
And it could be audio, it could be video, it could be chat, it could be a poll, it could be something like it. But as long as they are engaged with it, that they are not passively sitting there, right? That's the key. And then we want to do the last piece is end on a high note, is figure out what's the best way for Sam and Howard and the team to like show something. Let's pretend like you share. And by the way, we hit 200% of our sales goal here. Let's all celebrate, all right? And that you actually sent champagne to everybody's house, or I don't know what we're going to do. So then we do that. And what I would do then is the last piece, Sam, is I would come in the day before. We would set up your studio and rehearse, because Sam and Howard have never been in my studio. They don't know what it's like. So I need to get them comfortable so that they can be authentic when they present. And then the next day when we actually run the program live, then ideally they know what's going on, and we are able to handle all the challenges that may happen in real time in such a way that, again, we're not smooth, but we're authentic. And I do this actually. I'm going to LA next month for a company that's going to celebrate its 10th anniversary after starting on Kickstarter in 10 years. And this program will reach India, China, Germany, and Italy, and 4 other countries, all in the course of 2 hours.
Wow. And so you do road shows too. You go to where your clients are and help them out and do these successful events.
Yeah, and I got to carry all this equipment somehow, Sam. That is a case where I got to replug in all the equipment, so it takes more. But it was important because we're going to be broadcasting from their headquarters.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I know that I've really enjoyed going through your book, John. Thanks for the gift. I really appreciate it. I'm just constantly, as I'm going through here, I'm just thinking, and I can't believe you wrote this so fast to get this out, because there's a lot of material here for sure. But yeah, for any of our listeners out there that are, this is a great way to get started with John. And then, John, don't you have like a regular conference that you put on an annual basis?
Yeah, every year I put on a conference called the Engaging Conference. This year will be October. Let me see if I can bring up some info for it. And it's called the Engaging Conference. Actually, this year it's going to be called the Engaging Retreat, because the people who came last year really felt like it was a retreat. And so what's great about it is that this is actually a QR code for a free ticket. All right. And if that doesn't work, you can go to this website, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON. And Sam, I'd love to see you come here in Seattle, because what happens is if you come live, there's 2 things. If you're one of our first 50 people who register, in the evening, we will put you, Sam Reeve, on the stage and let you present for 5 minutes, give you all the video footage back, which has 4 different camera angles. And most importantly, you're going to get coaching from up to 10 different of our speakers, and let you know ideas for you, Sam, about how you could be even better, right? An even better presenter. So this Engaging Conference is, again, one of the highest end hybrid setups that we do. The amount of technology you'll see in that room is mind blowing. And again, I extend my audience anywhere from 50 to 100% by it. I have seats for up to 500 virtual attendees, while we have seats for about 150 in-person people. So the Engaging Conference, the last week of October 28, 29, and 30. And if Sam, the secret is, I haven't told many people about it, is that we're having a special Halloween after party.
Yeah, right. I'll go just for that alone. All right. Well, John, I really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with us today in this brief time that we've had together. But it's as I learn more, and I mean, I'd love to have a deeper dive on some of these elements for leaders out there. I truly believe that communication is one of the biggest weak points in that leaders have, and especially in my world where it's around compensation, communicating compensation to people, something that's really important. And leaders just seem to kind of shy away from that. They kind of hide from that, and it really needs to be done. Effective communication around rewards.
Sam, can I share a compensation story?
Yeah, do.
One of the early things that happened in COVID. So if you didn't know, I worked at Microsoft for 10 years. That's kind of where I got a lot of my other technical chops. And when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, in April, I got a call from Microsoft, my former employer, and they said, we have to take this conference that was in person and take it virtually in 2 months. All right. Wow. And it's not a lot of time. They were all planning to fly into Seattle to do this thing. And now they can't do that. And they really didn't know exactly how to do it. So they called me into it. And we did something really phenomenal. The whole key here, Sam, I'm telling you the story, is that it was around compensation. These were all the compensation managers at Microsoft around the world. If this conference doesn't happen, nobody at Microsoft gets paid. That's
oh, no.
Problem, right? So what we came up with is that it's worldwide, is that we actually ran the conference 24/7. So what would happen is in Redmond, we would actually film all the VPs and have a live audience. And even the people from other time zones, if they wanted to, could jump in if they wanted to be part of the live audience, if they wanted to get up early or stay up late. Then we would ship all the recordings to Asia next. But it was presented with a live team. So the live team would be facilitating, and then they play this video of the keynote and then talk about it at the end. Then they would take their notes and send it to EMEA, housed in UK in London. And they would then play it again based upon their notes. And we would start in, and it was like 4 days, and we did it all over again. One of the key parts, Sam, is that EMEA came back and said, we normally feel like, right, stepchildren at the kids' table at Thanksgiving. Because this is the first year we feel like we have a best seat at the table. And by the way, we can do something you can't. I said, what? And they go, we can pause the VP. So the VP said something controversial, based on the European Union or Germany's compensation, and the chat blows up. Yeah. And the facilitators would catch this, and then they would actually stop the video going, we see the chat, we think we should talk about this now. So they'll pull the video down and have a discussion of what did that mean to us about that, what that VP said. And it was super engaging.
Wow.
And then they solved the problems, in real time. And then by the end of 4 days, they felt confident about the compensation plan they would deal with, through the pandemic.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's like really making some of those difficult conversations, some technical in some situations, more engaging, into where people remember and can communicate effectively to their people.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, I know you have to run here, John. I really appreciate your time today. So thank you for being a guest on our show.
Well, thank you. And I've got one more message for you and Howard. Are you ready?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you for attending the performance. And a special thanks to all those who helped with the show.
Ta-da!
All right. Well, thanks once again, and to our listeners out there, see us next week on the People Strategy Forum. All right. Take care, everyone. Hey. All right.